Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Holowitz, and I want to thank you for being here for this training. In this training, we're going to talk about Act preferences. So there's all kinds of settings you can do behind the scenes to help you work with Act for the way you work with the software. So an example of that is a really simple example. When I start up Act, right now it opens up to the welcome screen. Now, me personally, when I open Act, I always want to see my contacts. I don't necessarily want to see the screen. Now, your opinion might be different, and that's fine. But let me show you how we can work with this. First of all, I'm going to go over to the contacts over here and click on contacts to get me inside of Act where I want to be. Now, if I want to see this every time, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go up and click on Tools, and I'm going to go down to Preferences, and I'm going to click on Preferences. When this box pops up on the screen, I have a lot of options here. Some of these options I'm going to revisit in other parts of this training and also in separate tutorials because I think they're worthy of their own separate discussion. But in this particular case, when this first comes up, it asks me if I want certain notifications. I'm going to move past this and sort of ignore this for now, and I will come back to this. I'm going to click on the General tab, and again, there's some general information here, but again, I'm going to pass this, and I'm going to go up to what I think are some of the more important things as a user of Act to work with. I'm going to click on Startup. Now, this Startup tab right here gives us some options, and the first option I want to draw your attention to, because it's what I started speaking about at the beginning, is right here, the Startup view. The Startup view, I have different options here. I can see the welcome screen as it's set now. I can choose contacts. I can see the list. I have different options here, which you're welcome to go through and look at. But my preference is contacts, so I'm going to click that. Now, you'll notice right here it says Update. This update is more if you have Act and multiple users. You can update this so it updates not just for you, but for all of your users across the network. So that's an option, but for right now, I'm just going to leave it as that. Next, the Startup database. Now, Act by default will start up the last database that you opened. That's the default setting. Sometimes if you have multiple databases, and I have multiple databases for this training because I have my business database and then this training database. As a general rule, I always recommend have just one database. For everything you gain for having separate databases, you lose more, in my opinion. We can talk about that later, but I always recommend you have one database. Now, on that note, because I have multiple databases, if I click on Startup Database, this allows me to navigate to the database I want to always open and choose it and open it. Now, I'm not going to do this, but all you have to do is navigate to it, and that database will be the one that always opens. So that's something I usually recommend people do, just so you don't get into the wrong database by accident. So that's another setting. Also, down below here where it says History, I'm going to address this in another time as well. I'm going to go up and click on the Admin tab. There's some things here, name preferences, company preferences, notes, and history. Again, I'm going to come back to this based on sort of the flow of this training. I don't think you have to concern yourself with these things right now. I will come back to them. The other thing that I generally do for my clients is this, the Colors and Fonts tab. Now, this is a subtle little thing, but it's something that I feel is fairly relevant and important. Now, right here, we have all these options here. And what I just do by default for my clients is I click on the first one. It's already selected. I scroll all the way down, and while holding the Shift key down, I click on the last one in the list, and that's selected all of them. Now notice down here where it says Show Gridlines. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and at first it clears it, but I'm going to click on it a second time, and it puts a check box in there. I'm going to click on Apply. Now I'm going to show you that at the end of this training in what's called a list view. And you'll recognize this if you don't have it set this way. So I'll come back to this. But while we're here, I'm going to go up to Calendar and Activities. This is, again, something I'm going to address in a separate tutorial. The Email and Outlook Sync, I'm going to address this in a separate tutorial. And Communication, this is a fairly simple one that I'll look at right now, just briefly. The main reason I come in here as a beginner user of Actor when you're first setting it up is because Act has its own built-in word processor, but you can also choose to use Microsoft Word. And if you have Word on the computer, which most people do, that's what we recommend. So I'm going to click right here, Microsoft Word, and I'm going to set that. So I'm going to click Apply, and then I'll click OK. So what we've done is we've set some preferences, but the main reason I came in here is because I want to get you away from the welcome screen every time Act start up. I wanted you to get right into contacts. And that's generally how I set it. Regarding the lines, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go look up and I'm going to go all contacts. And when I do that, it brings up all the contacts. Notice all the lines around here. It almost looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Just for the sake of our discussion, I'm going to go up and turn this off just so you can see the difference. I'm going to go back to colors and fonts. I'm going to click on the first one, scroll down, hold the shift key down, click on the last one, and then I'm going to take the grid lines off. I'm going to click apply, and all those lines go away. So for me, it's just a preference. I think the lines make it easier on the eyes, and it's easier to work with. Also, while we're here, we can change font styles, colors, backgrounds. And again, I can address that more in other tutorials, not a problem. I'm going to click apply, and my grid lines come back. And to me, that's just visually more appealing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my first preferences tutorial. Preferences number 1. We'll have others that I'll address some of the other items more specifically when they're called upon. Thank you very much. Have a great day.